You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Meta Show.
Greetings to all of you in the Confederation of Independent Systems. I am Count Dooku, your host today. I am joined alongside Vlad Mittani, the man whose name is used by children to scare each other around New Eden every day. This is our Halloween Meta Show. Hi, guys.
Thank you, Count Dooku. As you guys can see, I put a lot of effort into my vampire costume. I think there's a lot of subtlety to it, and I hope you guys appreciate it. I'm really kind of out on a limb here. My other costume was going to be to put on my Merca hat and dress as a Republican, but we already have one of those on the show, and he's already terrifying. So
there you go. I scare enough people. We don't need to scare anybody else.
Oh my! So we've got a pretty cool show. We're going traditional style. We've got. I apologize in advance if people's computers are stuttering. I know that putting imagery or worse animations involving pumpkins or any kind of thing up will make everybody's CPUs choke and die, because there's just something about pumpkins that's really hard to computer, I guess. But yeah, so we have Qicia is here. He's going to be, when we get into the Null Sec Power Hour, he's going to be talking about how he and Bastion's Delta Squad and Stainrust and various other parties have been setting huge chunks of Esoteria on fire. And it's kind of an appropriate thing to do because we basically just had 600 plus bad guys run down to Esoteria to defend the G-Magic iHub that we had reinforced yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever. There's lots of fun things happening in Eve, and we're going to be getting into that. Yeah, and on top of that, we also have, I actually have an opening, it's not quite a soapbox, it's more of a shameless plug, but Count Dooku, why don't you start things off, and we'll just get into it.
All right, well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you. I got my lightsaber ready. I want to say thank you to PC Games N, Ian Boudreau and the guys. They were kind enough to do an article, which I will link in the chat here, on EVE Online's World War B2. They got the name of the war wrong, but it's okay. And the terrifying power of bullshit, which I love as a headline, because I'll tell you, like, this is what we do. This is what we do on this show. It makes me happy to see that we are getting some kind of credit for all the bullshit that we like to spin. Anyway, one of the things that I wanted to say was, and I love the fact that they did this, they said all kinds of nice stuff about me, about Brisc. I was so pleased to see this, and it's funny because, I don't know, I didn't consider myself like the head spin doctor or anything, but apparently I am, even though my headset is screwed up. But they're saying now, spin is everywhere in EVE, whether it's the official message boards, subreddits, or Twitch streams. But Brisc Rubal, a real-life Washington lobbyist, is one of the Imperium's most prominent voices, and naturally he's an expert at spin. You heard it here first, folks. This isn't even Frank talking. I have been deemed an expert at spin by an independent media source that is not the Imperium News Network, the most trusted name in smug. So I'm very pleased about that. And we even got a shout-out from Semi at CCP Goodfella at CCP, saying that nobody can disagree. He's the head of propaganda for the Goons Forum. So, Mittens, I'm sorry. You're not the head of propaganda anymore. That
this is great. It means
ceded.
I get to be lazy and delegate, which, as we all know, is my true passion in life.
There you go.
Laziness
exactly.
and delegation. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really cool. Obviously, the Fountain Frank stuff has just been amazing. Now we have Count Dooku. The number of characters that have been popping up on the Meta Show, it's endless variety.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know, whatever. I mean, war is always about spin or people's, narratives or whatever it is that people want to say. Like, again, our enemy's amazing idea that if they come to Delph and try to do something, then there's going to be question mark, question mark, question mark. The Imperium and goons are going to give up and go away, and then they will be able to siege our keep stars without fear of getting their asses beaten to a pulp repeatedly. So, I can understand the war of spin, but obviously the Pass P crew are failing because our people are not running away. They are not giving up. If you come at the Spin Masters, you best not miss, I guess.
There you go. Exactly right.
All right.
So thanks to the PC Gamer thing. One last thing real quick, and then it's all you, Mittens. I wanted to give a shout out, and I'll do it with my lightsaber. Shout out to our dear friends on Streamfleet who are doing right now Twitch versus Eve. They are fighting all over the place. So if you're out there, you want to join some of my friends out there, go for it. You can watch these guys, not right now, obviously, but you can watch them later. They're going to be streaming a lot today. Bjorn B, Lucy Lou, Greg Al, a lot of our favorite streamers are out there. They're doing a day of Twitch streams for Streamfleet to raise awareness of Eve as a game and try to get as many streamers out there streaming Eve as they possibly can. So if you get a minute, you're tired of watching the Meta Show, after the show, please. We want to keep you here for all the fun. But after the show, check those guys out while they're out there streaming. And throw some love their way and tell them that Brisc and Mitten sent you. So that's my shout out, and I'm good. Now back to you.
So I have a shout out, and it's for something that unless you backed the Kickstarter, I don't think you can actually get it yet. But I read, I binged it in one sitting, the Empires of Eve Volume 2, right? So Andrew Groen, as you guys know, some of us have tried to kickstart books that did not go so well. But in the case of Andrew Groen and the Empires of Eve, it was a very successful Kickstarter, and also Empires Volume 1 was a wonderful book covering the events of the Great War, and obviously that's very near and dear to my heart. But one of the things that's fascinating about Empires 1 is that it was back in an era of the game where not too many people were necessarily playing Eve, right? Like, we were here, we were doing things, but it's not quite like the 2009 to late 2010 to 2014 scope of what has just been released, which is Empires of Eve Volume 2. And, I'm not going to lie. I was like, okay, well, how am I going to, what's this going to look like, right? It covers some things that are kind of unpleasant for my life, like the whole wizard hat incident, and much worse than what happened in Benghazi. And, it's always this kind of, how are they going to, is it going to be handled appropriately? The Benghazi stuff, I don't give a shit about the wizard hat thing. And also, did they get the history right? Did the guy do his research right? And I was really, really impressed with it. Like, it's not all about Goonswarm, right? We have a big part to play. The Imperium has a big part to play, but it was really kind of stunning. Like, there were some things that I learned from this that I never, I'd never really known the whole story of Atlas Alliance. I knew that Bobby Atlas went out for some fried chicken and never came back, but a lot of the other things that were going on in there, I was unaware of. So Empires Volume 2, really, really good, great read, highly recommended. I am, like, there are some minor quibbles. Like, so for example, he claimed that we called VFK Mittani grad because of some weird cult of personality thing, as opposed to the guys naming it that after the VFK headshot attempt. He thought that we named Goon Waffa because of some sort of like Luftwaffe reference, as opposed to in the early days, CCP did not have the sovereignty skill. And so we had to have Goon Fleet and then Goon Waffa and then Goon Platoon. So, there's some little minor details in there that are a little bit off in Empires 2. But in general, I was blown away to the point that I'm like, when we can buy more copies of this, and I think sometime in November you're going to be able to buy copies of it, I'm actually going to get like sets and like send them to my parents and be like, okay, like, here you go. This is what all this Eve stuff is. I think that the Empires book does a really good job of making things accessible to people that are not necessarily like Eve nerds. So if you're in a situation where you're like, how do I explain this to my girlfriend? How do I explain this to my family about this stupid game and why it matters? Highly recommend Empires 2. Also, we just had a hype train success. So apparently people are throwing money at the screen. I'm always happy to receive sub hype, as it were. That is now all of the level 2 emotes. So here we go. Yeah, I don't know about, I just pressed a button and something happened. So yeah, that's basically it. Empires Volume 1, awesome. Empires Volume 2 has all those big fights that most of the people who are playing today were actually there for. So, a lot of times when there's like a 2-book set, you kind of wonder if the second one is actually going to do well. But in this case, this covers a period that a lot of the current player base was there for. And we make jokes about like the whole I was there Eve marketing campaign, but I think it's kind of a legit thing. Like when you're reading like the battle reports of things that happen, and you're like, oh, that was what was going on. It's sort of an interesting thing. So that was my rant this week. Was really just more of a plug. I was pretty happy with that, and I think it is cool and good. So yeah, that's what I got.
I'm excited. I've got my digital copies of it. I'm still trying to find a way to get it on my Kindle because it's too big to email to my Kindle from any of my email accounts. So I have to. I'm waiting to get my, trying to get my hardbound copies of it because I know they're coming. But I'm looking forward to reading that as soon as I get it too. Because I read the other one, the first one, forever ago, and it was really great. And I'm looking forward. And I know he wrote this long article on the Kickstarter at the very end, right when they were sending the books out, talking about how much he poured into this one and how he wasn't sure he was going to do a third one. I'm like, come on, you got to do the third one. Because that's where the next war, that's where Casino War comes in. That's where this war, World War B, is coming in. It's going to be great.
Well, we know the good guys lose at the start of the next
right,
book.
So then it'll be a perfect
redemption
bookend,
arc.
Right?
Exactly. Win this one, and then maybe we'll, the goal is, we know we lose at the start of the next book, and the goal is to be again, gotta rub it in everybody's faces, again, the winners at the end of the third book. Just like we were the winners at the end of the first book and the second book.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's going to be the goal there. We're going to try to get that done so we can get in the third book. So hopefully, Andrew, if you're watching, or if somebody links this to you, we love you. Write the third book. Please say nice things about me in it. I would appreciate that. Anyway. All right, moving on. We're going to go to our top story. Obviously, we got a ton of news. We got a ton of news this week. Not only do we have Qicia here to talk about what's been going on in Esoteria, we got big news from the starting to crumble SNEC coalition, starting to finally see some dissension in the ranks. We're going to go to the top story, and that is Red Alliance and Army of Mangoes leaving the Blue Donut. Our top story of the week. Now, this wasn't anything, I think, that was on a lot of radar. I know that the Red Alliance news broke earlier in the week. I think the Mangoes news literally broke yesterday. Yes, and I don't know how many people heard about it. So, Mittens, why don't you tell us about what's going on there?
Well, I can't speak too knowledgeably about it because this is stuff that's happening in the Chinese player time zone. But there have been, and again, oh my God, spin, get ready to get mad, PASPy people. But you have seen day after day, the numbers, the ratio of forces between the Imperium and PASPy has been going in. I mean, we're still horrifically outnumbered, but like yesterday, we had a big Friday fuckfest in primetime on a Friday. And we saw the enemy outnumbering us only by 1.32 to 1, which is pretty hilarious considering that they started this campaign with about 3 to 1 odds. Now, of course, it's not always the same. What we have seen here, though, is member level attrition. And there have been 2 big events as far as that goes. One, Evictus, which is a legacy alliance, have basically like half failure cascaded and then pulled themselves out of the war. They're going to go back to PvE, but they did that after losing a bunch of their corps. At least one of those corp, like I think some of them have gone into legacy. Some of them literally cited the culture of passing on fights and why they left to go elsewhere outside of legacy. And similarly, now we have Army of Mangoes. It was always an uneasy alliance because Army of Mangoes and Fraternity are vehemently hostile to one another. And at the start of this war, Army of Mangoes was invited / asked / chose / whatever. I don't really know all the details of how they got involved in this on the same side of Fraternity, but the tensions have clearly gotten to a point where that's no longer viable. And Army of Mangoes have announced that they are pulling out of the war and leaving because of, I believe, situations where FRT and AOM pilots end up like fighting each other, or FRT ended up doing something or that pissed AOM off. I don't really know the details because all I need to know is that they are out. Also, apparently, I'm not exactly in costume as a Toreador or like gothy 90s vampire. Apparently, judging from the way that the webcam is like flickering with our chroma key, I am in Twilight Edward style costume, whether I like it or not, because I am getting sparkly at this.
There you go. You're a sparkly vampire.
It's not my.
Go.
It's not
I'm
my
trying.
style.
I can't get it to work. So it's.
I can't help but sparkle.
There you go.
It's
You're sparkling.
It's just who I am. But yeah, so this is in terms of, oh my God, narrative spin or whatever, there's always a big risk when you have a strategy based around degrading the participation and the will of your enemy. And, you have to go and you have to do the math and say, okay, on these big forums where everybody is pulling up all of their dudes and going out there to fight, how many do they have? How many do we have? What is it today? What is it tomorrow? We have some data nerds crunching away on that. And if there is more value in it, we might, we want to prove our theory. And then after we prove our theory, we want to ram it in Pass-P's faces such that their line members who are watching this know that their allies are abandoning them, that people are quietly jumping home. Every time that Pass-P jumps home after a pass in order to go deal with Esoteria being on fire, or to deal with Geminate getting hit, or to deal with whatever, we know every time they jump clone home, which we're constantly trying to make them do and succeeding in making them do, which is something that our guest Qicia is going to be talking about, that they get less dudes back in YZ9. And the magical, goons are going away, goons number, the Imperium is breaking, the Imperium is going away, that has not come to pass. Actually the only thing that has come to pass is Pappy, I guess. So Pass-P it is.
Hey-o.
So yeah, exactly. That's the army of mangoes and Evictus dot news. So that's pretty cool. What do we got next? Do we want to? When are we bringing? Are we bringing Qicia now or later or
whatever you want to bring him in? I was fine. We're going to talk about Red Alliance and then the.
We'll hit the Red Alliance stuff. Yeah, I haven't talked about Red Alliance yet. Do you want to? How are we doing this?
All right,
I'm in hyperactive.
Let's go ahead. We'll bring in Qicia because at the end, a lot of what's going on in Esoteria, it's a lot of what they're doing, and they're working together with the Stained Russians and with those guys. So we can talk about that, and then I think we might do a story time with Uncle Mittens because there's a lot of history between Goons, the Imperium, and the Red Alliance guys, dating back to the Great War. So
old school Red Swarm, baby.
Exactly. So let me go ahead. We're going to go ahead, push the button. We're going to get started, and we're going to bring Qicia on here to talk about what's going on in Esoteria. Qicia, welcome to the Meta Show. This is your first visit, at least since I've been on the show, so thanks for joining us. For those of you who don't know, Qicia is one of the lead FCs in the Bastion. He is part of the Delta Squad SIG. They are actively taking the fight to the bad guys in Esoteria, forcing them to jump clone back and do a lot of crazy stuff. So Qicia, thanks for joining us today.
Yep, no problem. Hi, everyone.
So can you give us a rundown? I mean, right now, I'll pull up on the screen just to show everybody. There's been a lot of talk. The bad guys talk a lot about what they've been doing in Delve, and we've seen them hitting a number of iHubs and hitting a number of systems. They refuse to take a Keep Star fight. Obviously, what they seem to want to do is they want to remove iHubs everywhere they can, and they're going to want to put their own iHubs down and then make us fight in systems where they have Sino-jammers up. But for now, it's kind of been a back and forth. But the story that they don't want to talk about, that you won't see on Reddit, that you never hear about, is what's going on in Esoteria. So let me show you. These are the iHubs right now in Esoteria. There are 2 full constellations that are currently in the process of being entosed. A number of systems have been taken by the Bastion, including, and also by Farah. These are the iHubs, if you want to look. And one of the things that we've noticed, TCUs don't matter other than for morale victories. But the reality is it's another target to hit. They haven't hit a single TCU in Delve yet. But look at all the TCUs that have been taken to Esoteria. So Qicia, can you walk us through what you guys have been doing, what you've been doing up there, and what the impact has been, and what you've been seeing from Test when you guys have been up there fighting in Esoteria?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll give a little bit of background to it. So originally when we lost our final timer on our Keepstar and OTAC P, the linchpin on that was actually the Test Raven fleet. Because we had been hitting their fighters, they're pulling them back near the end. I don't know if they were trying to save fighters or whatnot, but it was that Test Raven fleet that was kind of linchpin and killing our Keepstar. So once we finally got pushed out of Fountain, we got all of our assets back. I kind of made a decision where we needed to do something that that would impact the war and that would, give Bastion a good name. But we had to do something that was proactive. And so I pitched the idea to Canaros and the Sky Team group that we're in. And originally I had actually wanted to focus on Deterid, which is where you saw us put 13 iHubs into the fire, but then we ended up only winning 5 of them, but we reset them. And from that point, we made the decision where, that was too far out for us to make an impact in the war, so let's go into Stain. We set everything up, got a couple guys on board, logistics and all that, and we kind of ran into a barrier because I didn't realize that there was like Stain rules and stuff, just because I hadn't been in Stain for like years, since like, I don't know, Halloween War and that area. So we figured out an area that we were going to stage in, and our basic plan was to just do everything covert, bridge out of a station in Stain, and just ping test relentlessly. And so that's what we're doing. We had an ISK incentive where every structure that you pinged, you would get 5 mil, but then we realized that you had to get it to 95%. So it's like, okay, we'll give everyone 10 mil for every structure they ping in their polar bomber. And that was the go-to. So we started off with 20 pings a day, and we skyrocketed to about 50, 60 pings of just spamming their notification bots. And we would see the effect. So every time we ping something, we'd get a small gang of, sometimes, 1 to 12 people out for just a simple ping. So I'm like, this is great. We're pulling people, we're getting 10 to 1 odds and pinging structures. Let's keep this going. So we kept the pay structure for about, I think, 2 weeks, paid out about, I think, five bill or so. And then it gained traction. We tripled our numbers within the SIG. And then we're like, okay, well, we can't just keep pinging and think that that's going to be enough. So I'm just like, we need to take some iHubs. We need to keep some SOV. And that's where we planted, a Citadel and one of their systems, put up a Dick Star, which they formed up 100-man Ferox fleet. And I assume that the FC at the time hadn't hit bosses before. And they're a lot nastier when they're Dick Star fit than just your typical Citadel. So it took them about 15 minutes to incap a medium battery.
Wow.
And then they warped off and basically went home. So I guess to pick it up to where we are right now, Canaros got me into contact with Hercules of Farah. And so I can't take all the credit with what we're doing, because I don't think without the help of the Stain Russ,
the Stain Russ
group,
are super badass, and they've been doing a ton of work. Exactly.
Yeah. And
but
they've got,
you two have been working together in groups and organizing things quite a lot. For people, I'm going to interject here and sort of give a plug for Stain Russ. So one of the fun things about this war is, my policy on Stain has always been, there are angry Russians there. And if you read Empires of Eve, Volume 2, you will find repeated quotes from yours truly over the course of many years saying, don't fuck with Russians, don't piss off Russians, only an idiot pisses off Russians, and this is why. And as a result, like we have always had good relations with the Russian community in Eve. We've got a huge Russian contingent within Goonswarm, and then periodically, like oftentimes when it's us versus puppies, usually goons and Russians end up working together against the rest of Eve. I had no idea when this war kicked off that this group in Stain Russ was actually a bunch of our old friends from the Halloween War. Like, I didn't know that Christos was in Farah. I didn't know that Hercules was running Farah, because, again, Stain is not my territory. There be dragons, there be angry Russians. Let them do their thing and stay away. But it turned out that some of our oldest allies from back in the day, because Hercules used to run AAA after Evil Thug ran AAA, and we were all on the same side together in like the Halloween War and shit like that. It turned out that the nemesis of Test, living on their border, going after them repeatedly with tornado fleets, was our old buddies. So then this sort of became like a match made in heaven. It's like, okay, well, the Stain Russ are already killing Test, and then the Bastion got involved with Qicia's team, and everybody got sort of like linked up together, and in the common cause of making life miserable for PASP. And I think it's been going really, really well, because it's a multiple time zone threat. And yeah, so I'm done with the shameless plug on all things Stainrus. And Qicia, back to you if you want to talk about what it's been like and what you've seen from the bad guys in past. Because I mean, I've been watching their pings. They have been jump cloning home and they know it. All you guys who are in chat right now from the bad guys, you know we have been making you jump clone home over and over and over again. And regardless of what Pro God Legend might tell you, we know and you know that every time you guys jump clone home, fewer of you jump clone back to YZ9. Every time you do it, it's a loss of like 2 to 3% participation. It is beautiful. And I encourage you to continue to jump home to defend Esoteria. It's very important. So, Qicia, what are we seeing over there? What's morale like in Ron USMC land?
Yeah, I've been watching. He'll come and poke over every time we like ping a structure or something. It's kind of funny, but I mean it's great. I think aside from the 10 iHubs that we've reset, one of the biggest wins that we had was I think we had about 20 Bastion and about 30 to 50 Stainrest formed up, and we managed to pull 450 combined legacy into just our pocket for about 6 hours. And the BR reports are up there. I mean, I have them. People want links. It's not fake. And so if we can pull 450, legacy, Mango's Brave. I mean, they've all been down there, but their numbers are dwindling. Tess is pinging more. We've only seen Mango's twice in this whole time. Brave, I think, twice as well. But I mean, the thing with the Mangoes, I mean, they don't come often because it's pretty far out. They showed up with a fleet of 20 mutants when they tried to reinforce our Fortizar, which they've been able to fail. They've failed to finish the armor timer 3 times, and we have adapted, and they tried again, and they can't even do the shield timer now. So, I mean, that just goes to show. I mean, we only have like 20 people on at any given time for these. So it's working out with Init and GSF when we get pings out to Delve and such, the help. And then they just run. So I'm just going to toss out this. We've managed to kill 13 jump bridges. We just killed one right before this segment kicked off. We have 4 more jump bridges that are reinforced right now. 12 Athenors killed, 4 Sino Beacons killed, 10 iHubs reset, and we just claimed another TCU today.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's also that's one of those things that I love about the PASP spin is that these guys are trying to convince the Imperium to give up and go away because, we all know that iHubs are biased in favor of the attacker. It is easier to take an iHub than it is to defend an iHub because the system is designed that way. When we trade iHubs with the bad guys, they're like, oh, your empire is burning down. It's all over.
That's what makes me laugh.
You guys are over there torching their shit all day, every day. They're like, oh, well, this doesn't really matter. Citadels or something,
If you guys think that iHubs matter, if you guys think that taking space in Delve is going to win the war, and that you're winning because you managed to kill some iHubs in the systems closest to NPC Delve, then you cannot turn around in good faith and say, oh, the fact that you guys have done the exact same thing in Test Home system in the heart of their space within jump range of their capital systems, that's not equally a big deal. So pick one. If you want to talk about Delve burning, that's great. So's ESO.
I want to give a shout out also. Sorry, I want to give a shout out here to another group that has been contributing, and they're now deployed to Esoteria. Is my increasingly like one of my favorite mercenary groups in EVE is like this little group called Rebecca Dot that started out ganking us, and I'm like, these guys have talent. This might go somewhere. So we started funding them and supporting them, and now they have been anchoring successfully Citadels in test staging system, right? Like I think there's 3 or 4 more days until the first one of those is going to have its onlining timer. But when we started this shit show, spamming test with things, they would immediately react, and it would be difficult for us to actually get things to anchor. And now you can go into test staging system, which has below 4.0 ADM, or at least it did the other day. Maybe they've had a panic and like unfucked it, but the fact that you can even do that with all like high-speed low drag merc group is pretty awesome. So it's not just Bastion and Stainrust. There are a lot of people. There's a large contingent from the Imperium's and Goodstorm's Black Ops group. We have lots of people over there working together to poke holes in test defense, and it's been pretty successful. And one of the things that is nice is when the enemy goes away, like as we're seeing the line member participation in PASP in general, because nobody wants to be on PASP's side. Nobody wants to be, oh well, we're really cool. We're outnumbering goons by all this sort of stuff, but we're really the good guys. And these guys who we're allies with, yeah, whatever. We're gonna put that aside for now. But as these guys melt away, one of the side effects of it is that the dudes who are broadly part of the PanFam coalition are not turning up to help test. So the more guys that go home, the more vulnerable test is. They know it. We know it. Esoteria continues to be a sucking chest wound, and it's only going to get worse. And we all know that if this offensive against the Imperium manages to falter or fail, which since they're refusing to hit our keep stars, and magically we're going to be scared and go away because you blew up some iHubs or you're shooting an Athenor, like whatever, then test is screwed, right? Like if 50 more people from Horde stop going on fleets, increasingly the less people from PASP that turn up, the more test suffers, which is really just kind of a win-win all the way around. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, so that's it for me on the topic. But Bruce, do you have any questions? I mean, Qicia, sorry,
Qicia, one of the things I wanted to say is just I have to laugh because since we started this war, the number one group that we have seen, the guys that have been carrying the rest of PASP on their back, has been Pandemic Horde. Everybody knows it. Horde knows it. Test knows it. The numbers don't lie. We've shown them to you multiple times. Horde has been doing yeoman's work. NC Dot also punching way above their weight. PL punching way above their weight. We saw Fraternity a lot in the beginning. We saw them. They dropped the first 2 keep stars in FWST. And since then, we haven't seen them at all. And Test was very proudly announcing in the beginning of the war that they were going to push this 2-pronged attack. They were, PanFam's coming through Fountain. We're going to come through Quirius, and we don't even have to worry about protecting our space because Mangoes are going to protect our space for us. Not anymore. So at the end of the day, what Qicia and the guys are doing up there is critical, and it's something that I felt like that I'm glad to see that we're doing this, because I don't want to simply be here reacting to everything the bad guys do. Yes, this is a defensive war. We are being invaded. They have to do the invading, and they're taking, their slow time doing it. We're 45, 30 some days, it takes to be able to online a Sinojammer. So I guess 49 tac, maybe next week they'll be able to put a Sinojammer in 49 tac, and we'll have to fight on that keep star. We'll see if we even care at that point, because who gives a shit about Quirius now? Except for maybe Quirius George, but he'll be here later.
Well, I think we have continued to take iHubs back. I mean, this is the thing. The bad guys will come and they'll take iHubs, and then they have to hold them for 35 days to get a jammer up. There's been one system that they have managed to hold for 35 days that has a keep star in it, and they have failed to do anything about it, because I believe after they got their asses handed to them, I mean, we did lose keep stars in Fountain, but they were so unhappy about those keep star fights that we were defending with just our subcapital forces, that given the opportunity to jam a system and hit a keep, PASP has repeatedly passed on it. They could have been making those moves. They have chosen not to. You could say they've chosen not to strategically, or you could say they've passed. I can't believe that we didn't think of PASP before. I think right? Don or somebody on Theta Thursdays came up with it, and it's beautiful. Increasingly, galaxy-wide, players of EVE Online are passing on PASP, as has Army of Mangoes, and there you go.
I think I have a new commercial idea. I got to work on
that. Yeah, so it's a hot mess, right? Like there's iHubs going back and forth, but I don't see a path to victory for the bad guys. At a fundamental level, their path to victory, and you can see them getting frustrated in chat and getting mad. Oh, we're hitting an Athenor. There are thousands of citadels in Delve that you're gonna have to siege, right? You don't want to hit the keep stars, which is what everybody has their stuff in the keep stars. You can't scare us away with iHubs. Meanwhile, Test's organization is increasingly under ever more stress. Your allies are leaving. Your numbers are dropping. You can blame Test for it. You can blame AOM for it. You can blame whoever you want for it. But the math doesn't lie. I don't know how they're going to get another number surge. If we feed them some Titans, if we fuck up catastrophically, right? Like if we take another swing for like an Operation Inho or something and something goes wrong and we lose Titans, that will give them a big morale boost, right? Like that would see a surge in numbers and a big spike. But I don't think they really have any cards that they can play in terms of like to get a surge in participation. Like you need to do something to get people excited about the war. And hey, our allies are either imploding in the case of Evictus or leaving in the case of Army of Mangoes, and our numbers are steadily dropping even on a Friday primetime form up. They pulled what, 1,032, about 1,040 dudes last night primetime. We pulled like 780. That's the 1.32 to 1 ratio I'm talking about. But you know, unless you blow up our keep stars, you can't win. And your strategy is to just convince us to give up and go to Saranin, I guess, because, ooh, we're trading iHubs. But you're not capitalizing on the iHub that you still have. The only one that they've been able to keep for 35 days is 49, which is incidentally and reinforced again because goons are going ham with reinforcing things like the heroes that they are. Like we are doing ops and we're just finding out, oh, hey, this iHub over here got hit. Oh, this iHub over here got hit. Our irregular forces are doing the work. Yeah, so, you know, I'm cool with it.
There you go. Qicia, any final thoughts before we move on to the next segment?
I mean, we did reinforce DTAC-P. I mean, that was pretty funny. Their capital, and we've hit them so much that they've actually swapped their capital out of DTAC-B to DTX8 because it's the link to Impasse, and we've reinforced that on like a bi-daily basis. It's just funny seeing the test try to spin. Oh, they're just TCUs. Well, they're not TCUs now, are they? You know, it's they've gone from almost singular fleets in Esoteria to like 6 fleets a day in Esoteria. And I
keep failing to take out your Fortizar too, if I remember correctly. Is that particular Fortizar is that still up?
Yeah, they've three armor timers and 1 shield ref they've attempted.
You guys have successfully defended that Fortizar more times than they defended keep stars they were dropping in
pretty much.
In NPC Delve. There was one other thing we wanted to bring up. There's a happy anniversary, as I understand it.
Right, yeah.
Go ahead and do the shout out.
Myself, I turned 15 years in EVE on September 24th. My corp just turned 18. They were founded in the beta October 28th, 2002. They just turned 18, so happy birthday to Mink. And to go along with that, I'm the longest active standing member in that corp, so I think it's kind of put the 2 and 2 together, and this is kind of, you know, possibly my final war hurrah. Just had a kid in the summer, so I wasn't actually sure how I was going to be able to tell the wife, because I was on a hiatus like Mr. V, and my wife's like, you've got a newborn and a 3-month puppy. Like, and I'm just like, but Carnell's just sent me a message. They need me back for the war.
The horn of Gondor was sounded.
Yeah. So now, I mean, the wife's not happy. You know, managing a SIG. I just want to say, I don't know how you do it, Mittani, but just the SIG alone, I'm putting 16, 19-hour days, phone commanding. Just it's
a full-time job, straight up. It is not easy.
Yeah. She's like, if you got paid, go for it. But it's not a paid job. It's just a pure passion. And just, I just want to give a shout out to my core team, because I've never understood. I mean, you never shit on your logistics, and I've never I really understand how important logistics has been. And my corp, RVA Mitchell, has been dynamite. He's gone from pure PvP to just jump freighter running. MWR Warrior, he's a madman on the guns for Citadels. He killed 200 billion in the fountain. And the whole fountain stage of PanFam taking fountain. We got him over here, so come at us, test, bring whatever you got. Serenity Firefly, Soft Insanity, Teabagger, Adfoo's recruiting, and P Blue Can. These are the guys that make it work. And if you need people, I just want appreciation. When you need a core of people to really make things work. And when you find people that are go-toers, you get things done like we've done.
That's awesome.
Qicia, we appreciate it. I mean, you are doing Bob's work up there, so keep it going.
Well, and we're gonna win this thing by breaking Paspy, and you're a huge part of that. And then once that's done, I imagine there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be satisfied and go on to raising their children and not getting wife aggro. So we appreciate it. It's been a huge gaping, sucking chest wound in Paspy's rear. And actually, that doesn't work. Chest wound in their rear. Anyway, regardless of the awkward analogy, you guys have been doing great work, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks.
There you go. All right, we're going to do two things. First of all, we're going to go to our Piercing the Corporate Veil segment. We have some CCP news we want to talk a little bit about before we get to the war update. But we have a new advertising client on the show. So we're going to go ahead and run this new commercial from our new sponsor.
Here we go.
And hopefully this works. I didn't have a chance to test it, so if it doesn't, it's going to be bad. But we'll hopefully it works. So here we go.
This one goes out to all the gamer girls and especially the gamer boys. Our new beverage is guaranteed to leave you feeling fresh and looking incredible. Made using only the finest artisanal ice water from the ice belts of DTAC-W. Coming soon to a Delve Citadel near you, J Amazingness Capsule Water. It's for the Simps.
Thank you to J Amazingness Capsule Water for being our newest sponsor here on the Meta Show. It's for the Simps.
Very nice.
Right, and here we go. We are going into Piercing the Corporate Veil.
Oh my god.
Hey, every week we're going to do something fun. That's all amazing. I'm saying. Jay, I'm lining up to get that capsule water, even though it's not for human consumption. I still want some. All right, so this week we saw a number of announcements. Obviously, last week we saw the announcement about the diminishing returns. We talked about that on last week's show. Added this week was something new that CCP believes is supposed to create conflict, or at least give roaming gangs something to do. The ESS, the Encounter Surveillance System, that was a module that was so useful and so welcomed by ratters everywhere, it was banned from the Imperium because it caused so much ratting drama. Now, it's going to be in every system in Null Sec, period. Every single system will have an ESS under this new program that CCP is putting out.
Yay!
Yeah, I guess. Good, I guess, maybe. Coming on the heels of, we've already seen multiple nerfs to ratting in the last 2 years. Almost all of them designed around the fact that first us in Delve, and then later Fraternity in Oasa have managed to min-max creating ISK through bounties so much that we were generating 15, 16 trillion ISK a month in bounties. That was nerfed. It was reduced. Titans were nerfed multiple times. Bosun ratting was taken away. You saw supers becoming much less useful. Tons of fighter nerfs. Every 5 minutes you're turning around, light fighters are getting a sig radius increase, or they're slowing down, or something that makes them harder to use for ratting. We've seen fewer carriers out there. We've seen we're obviously the mining changes, but the ratting stuff has been pretty key. The ESS, the addition of the ESS is just another thing that is going to reduce income for players and allow small guys to run around and just grab money out of ESSs. Now, I guess if the goal is to hurt botters potentially, or give the guys who are already doing roams a reason to go to certain areas, okay, I understand that. I think the way that this system is set up, and Mittens, are you familiar with the way that this is going to work? It's different than the previous ESS. Should I run through it for you?
I'm trying. Please do run it through, because right. I mean, it's we're having a serious PvE discussion, and I am going to do my level best to not fall asleep or start drooling. So let's hear it. Explain in small words in a way that a very non-PvE Mitten might be able to understand.
I will explain this like you're 5 and please. Give a shit.
Okay.
Which is hard in both ways. So the previous ESS was a module. You dropped it in the system, and wherever you dropped it, a bubble would essentially the equivalent of a Hick bubble would surround it. You would get a notification in local anytime anybody got close to it. And essentially you put it in space because as it ramped up over time, it would give you a bonus to your ratting ticks. In response, it would take a certain percentage of ISK away from your ticks as it was happening and put them in a bank. And you would have to go to the ESS every once in a while, push the button, pay out everybody who had generated ISK into it, and that way they would get their extra money. Now, if you fail to do that and someone could come in, they can get close to the ESS, they could steal the contents of the ESS and generate tags. You take the tags to an NPC station, you sell the tags, you make ISK. So it was a way for roaming gangs to come through, and if they see an ESS in the system, they could grab it and, haha, we got away and we stole your stuff and you guys were stupid, and it potentially would cause fights. It never caused fights. It caused ratting drama. There were always people who who put that ESS up. Why is that there? You're putting this up. It's your responsibility to make sure if there's a newt anywhere in this pipe that you're going to go and clear it out. And it just turned into a headache to the point that we said, no more ESSs anywhere. Now that would suck because it was a benefit. You could, if you had a safe ratting system, you were going to make more ratting income doing it. You were going to make LP in addition to the ISK, so you were getting a double dip there, and that you could translate. I still have a couple 100,000 Calderi from when we used ESSs way back in the day in Tenal. But I'll tell you, it became such a problem that people just stopped using them. Now, under this new system, it's not only completely different than that, it's also even more complicated, which, as we all know, is the best way is to make things more complicated. So every single system will have an ESS in Null Sec. Not in High Sec, not in Low Sec, just in Null Sec. They will be gated behind an acceleration gate. Inside that acceleration gate on that grid, no warping, no micro warp drives, no micro jump drives, no sinos, and it's gate limited to cruisers and battle cruisers, I believe, and battleships. So 3 classes that they can use, oddly of which most of them are not the kind of ships most of the roaming guys are coming through in. But that's what's allowed in there right now. So the best you're going to be able to do is maybe getting a Munin or something with an afterburner on it and trying to burn over and grab this thing. In addition to that, there's also 2 banks instead of just 1 on the CSS. There's a main bank that is going to be used basically the way the ESS was before. You go in, you rat, it puts money in there, it takes a percentage of whatever you're ratting and puts it in there. And that's what the guys are going to go try to steal. You don't have to go, you have to worry about paying it out yourself. It does it automatically every 3 hours now. But there's a second bank. Not the main bank, the reserve bank. It's not a spank bank, it's a reserve bank, guys. It's the reserve bank. This one is specially locked, and you need a special key that somehow will end up in some kind of, I guess it'll be sold by NPCs or something. But they're not seated in the game yet, and they're not going to be for like a month. At least the way that it sounded like from what I was reading in this blog. They're not going to even have these in the game when it starts. And the whole point there is you unlock this reserve bank, and then you got to sit on grid with it, and you basically, it's like you're sticking a siphon in the gas tank and sucking, and you start pulling ISK out over time. And you have to physically sit there until it's done. And this is, I guess, going to cause fights. I don't know. I guess that's it. But yeah, that's part of what we're doing.
Okay,
hopefully
so,
I got it all right. If I got it wrong in chat, correct me. But I think that's it.
This sounds like a very simple and elegant gameplay mechanic that'll be very popular. Where the fuck did they come up with this?
I don't know.
All right, so I actually have something on this that's not directly diving into the ESS stuff because you guys saw it. Sorry, my simple little mitten brain kind of shorted out there. I can handle PI. That is sort of like where I go in terms of EVE PvE. Incidentally, I need to change my extractors from a 4-day to a 7-day setting because I did enough PI that I'm now at the every 4 days is a pain in my ass. I want to do it every 7-day. And next thing you know, I'll be having it on a month setting like everybody else. But anyway, we delayed the fireside today because there's fights and scraps and stuff. And so I'm going to be doing the fireside after the meta show. But one of the things that I came to the table to talk about today is, we had people in the Imperium going okay, there's all these bad guys here. What are we going to do? CCP keeps nerfing stuff. What is for the people that are not super space rich, what are some PvE options? And we promised this last week, and we actually have several guides that we're going to be announcing and posting in front of everybody. But I think this sort of dovetails into that, because none of the things that we are suggesting that people do in order to actually make ISK in the CCP nerfs the hell out of Null Sec environment currently really have anything to do with Null Sec, right? There's abyssal guides. There's a C3 solo wormhole hunting site guide. There's also a pretty comprehensive high-sec orca mining guide that Hero Goon whipped together sometime in the last week, and we're going to be promoting that too. But where I'm going with this is less like, oh my God, Goons can't PvE and delve. I mean, it is a war zone, and that's a pain in the ass. But one of the questions that I think a lot of us are facing collectively, even after the war, is it worth, like, CCP has done so much to screw with the PvE aspect of nullsec gameplay galaxy-wide that is it even going to be worth that compared to doing abyssals, to doing like high-sec mining at scale with orcas, to do some of these other things? Because it basically just seems like CCP is just repeatedly hammering all of nullsec over and over and over again to try to devastate the economy, to try to devastate the PvE gameplay there. And you know, EVE players will optimize everything. If this ESS requirement system is too convoluted and annoying, people will just run orcas, and at scale, probably people will end up botting the hell out of orcas in Empire, which I don't approve of. I would prefer, I'm a farm and fields guy. Like I used to always say that if Olmeca didn't exist, we'd have to invent him, because the sort of predator prey cycle, lack of Volterra joke goes here, is important to keep nullsec players on their toes, and you never want to have safe PvE because you always need that degree of risk to stay, in a alert and combat effective state. But if they keep just slamming nullsec PvE with the nerf bat over and over and over again, people will just stop doing it and go someplace else. Like they introduced the ESS, and people just across nullsec kind of banned them. I guess they were used in a few places, but they were just a huge pain in the ass, and nobody wanted to do anything about it. So now it's like, oh guys, you have to use the ESS, and it's more complicated and lame. Okay, like I don't have a plan on this. We'll have to see what people do once it actually hits the server. But it's just like, of all the things that they could be developing, like who wanted a bigger, better ESS? Like who asked for this? Did they realize that nobody likes these things? I got nothing.
Look, all I can tell you is that, as far as I can tell, they're trying to do everything they can to create conflict drivers. But like I said in my soapbox last week, I don't think they fundamentally understand why we fight each other. And I think they think that if they are able to put a constraint on resources, that like EVE will become like the real world, where we fight over resources. And we don't do that in EVE. We just traditionally almost never have, other than a handful of times, and we talked about them before. We just don't have. That's not the kind of thing that we do. We'll just buy the stuff from whoever is doing that stuff. We don't have to do it ourselves. I mean, it's funny because Anominate and I have had a number of these conversations. We always talk about this. People don't seem to remember that prior to like 2016, there was no way for nullsec to be independent or completely self-sufficient. There was just no way to do it. You could build supers there, but other than that, you didn't build anything in nullsec. You built it all in high-sec and low-sec. There was no reason to build stuff in nullsec other than supers, because you had to build them there. Citadel's changed all that, and we were able to do a lot of the stuff that we do in our own space, and that was part of the goal of the system. Now we seem to want to go back to the old way. And that's fine. That's what it used to be. And we'll adapt to it, but I don't think it's going to drive the conflict that they seem to think that it's going to drive. If anything, I think, frankly, you're in the process of seeing a constant reduction in the amount of resources coming into the game. That's going to make everything that exists more valuable. That's going to make everything that's in the game that everybody already has more expensive, and they're not going to want to use it, and that's going to cause problems. And it's all happening in the backdrop of the biggest war in the history of the game, where we've already seen almost $500,000 in real life money destroyed. So I don't know. I feel like conflict drivers were critical last year when there wasn't a war. Now there is. And some of these things that I think are edge case conflict drivers, maybe look, the small gang guys I'm sure are going to love this, because now they're going to get paid to do the stuff they were doing for free before. And everybody loves that. It's great to finally get paid for what we were already doing. That's wonderful. But I don't get it. And just for the record, guys, we're going to go over today. I'm telling you right now, we still got a lot of other stuff to talk about.
I've been running my fucking mouth, so
we're going to keep going
we're
regardless.
strapped in here.
But anyway, that is that. And the other thing I'll mention briefly in terms of CCP news is we did get final confirmation from the Guinness Book of World Records that the FWST, that the Fury and Twist,
right.
that Keepstar fight broke 2 records. Not only did it break the 9TAC4 $1 million battle that was not really a $1 million battle fight concurrent users record, we also broke BTAC-R's total number of players involved over the course of the fight record. So for those of you who were looking and joined the game playing for your BTAC-R moment, you just got it. You just got it. You got your I was there. You can go watch that I was there video, and now you were part of something. Because if you're watching this show, there's about a 95% chance that you were in that fight, in one way or the other. If you weren't, I'm sorry you missed it. But are we in Cool Kids mode? Because if we're in Cool Kids mode,
we are
then I think
officially
it's
in Cool
time
Kids
for
mode.
for a war update then.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do our war update. We'll be back in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I have arrived. It is I, Fountain Frank, your favorite Imperium spokesman. Now, I am pissed, and I will tell you why I am pissed. I am pissed because Brisc got all the shout-outs in that damn article, and they didn't mention me once. What the hell is this? Who has been breaking his back week after week to provide all of you with the most trusted information on Twitch than me? I don't even get a shout out. Brisc is silver-haired. Brisc is in a well-appointed office with his DC Beltway suits. What the fuck am I, chopped liver? Look at this. This beret. I am the winner of Best Beret from GQ 8 years running. It's in my bio in the game. It's true. They don't even mention it. This is bullshit. But then again, that was the headline of the article, so it makes perfect sense. All right, so war update. You guys already. I have to give you Mittens. I gotta give you guys credit. You stole some of my thunder. I was gonna talk about all the fun stuff going on Esoteria because that's pretty cool, and I love the fact that we're taking the fight to the bad guys in their home space, and they can't do anything about it. So they just have to pretend that it doesn't exist. And then they try to come on here and talk shit about, oh, Delve is burning. You guys got a crotch fire in your backyard and you won't even put it out. And you guys are talking about Delve? I don't think so. Now, there is an important thing that I must talk about. And I want to apologize to everyone. John Hartley in particular, I want to apologize for. You guys may have seen the news that the Imperium lost something like 800 billion ISK worth of builds in a Satoyo in MTAC-O or MOTAC, whatever the hell it is, M something. Some system next to Delve, next to 1DQ that had a Sotio in it. And Reddit would have you believe that John Hartley just decided that he wanted to screw everybody over and he pushed the button and turned it off. Okay? That was not true. I am here today to thank John Hartley and apologize to him because he took one for the team. He accepted the blame for this Sotio when the person, and we are going to announce right here today who was responsible for knocking off all of those things on there and cutting all those things in build and killing all of those poor wyverns that will never be born.
Alas.
And I'll tell you right now, he knows he did it. It was Querious George. This guy, I cannot tell you how many times this guy has fucked things up for us in this war. He deleted all of Asher's bookmarks. Every time something happens, this guy is here doing stuff, and it's nonsense. And I say thank you, John Hartley, because I know you are an animal lover, that you were willing to take the fall for George's bad behavior. And everyone owes you an apology for being mean to you when they came after you for their stuff, because they should have come after this guy. Oh, by the way, guess what? He's broke as shit, so don't even ask him for SRP, because he ain't got nothing. He forgot to monetize all of the 2 Minutes Hate video, so he got nothing from it that he snuck out of Esoteria last week. So, John Hartley, thank you. You are a man among men for being so selfless to cover up for this fucking monkey. That's it. That's all I got this week. We are out. Thank you all for joining us. Mittens, it's all you.
All right. Thank you, Fountain Frank. Now, the meta show these days, I'm really proud to say we do now have more scene changes than your average Lady Gaga concert. So, I gotta step up my costume game, I think. Yeah, I mean, actually, the Satya thing, John was covering for one of his directors. It wasn't actually him who did that. And we are in the process of auditing that and making sure that things are sorted out. There's one thing that we didn't cover earlier that I want to go back to as Fountain Frank does his scene change. Pretty major news. We were talking about Stain Russ, and I got carried away talking about Esoteria being on fire. Remember, when they lose iHubs, it doesn't matter. But when we lose iHubs, it's really a big deal, and we should be scared or something or other. I don't know, whatever. But I'm really, really happy that we have, since the start of this war, which is designed to get the Imperium to be broken and to get goons to quit the game and to get rid of me and all this other sort of stuff, we have had two groups of our old allies sort of return to the fold. We had French Connection join the Imperium. Again, the whole idea that PASPI is going to get together and make the Imperium weaker when we have old allies from the Red Storm Federation joining us. It's not quite working out too well for them, so we got French Connection. And recently, Red Alliance left, I think they were a part of the Fire group, and left that coalition and came over to Delve. They have split into two groups. There is another director in Red Alliance who is forming his own Russian coalition. So we basically have Red Alliance and Old Man's group coming into Delve and crashing on our couch and hanging out there and building up and doing bad things to the bad guys because they have ambitions far greater than just hanging out in Delve. And it is really awesome to sort of get the band back together because, you know, we're working with Stain Russ all day, every day. Now we've got Red Alliance on board. We have our French friends with us. And basically, it's the exact opposite of what PASPI was aiming for. They're going to try to break down the Imperium, and because they're so lame and nobody really wants to hang out with them or be their friends, because why would you want to be on their side? We are having more friends and old friends coming back, and it's all it's like a family reunion of jerks who play Eve together and enjoy being jerks who play Eve together. So it's been working out really well. Happy about that. I think it's extra funny because, well, I don't want to go into the metagame implications of it, but let's just say that it does make the whole defending against Stain Russ aspect a little bit more difficult for PASP, even more so than before. So yeah, thank you very much, Red Alliance. Welcome aboard. And you know, that's the thing about like having allies that really matter. Allies who will join you and fight with you when the entire galaxy is against you. Anybody who's like, yeah, I want to be on the side of the Imperium in this thing against all of these lame ass PASP nerds. Those are the dudes you want to fly with. The people that will come fight alongside you when things the rest of the galaxy is going, oh, goons are losing, iHubs and Delve, it's all over. Da, 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 da. Like, those are the kind of dudes that you want on your side. So yeah, welcome aboard, guys. I think that's about it. I've been herfing lots of blurfs today, so we're running over. But is there anything else that I've?
There's just one thing I wanted to point out before we finish the show. It amazes me still to this day that despite the fact that we provided, and this is Brisc, it's not Frank, we provided our helpful Imperium video on how to fit your rigs as an FC, that these guys are still not fitting rigs on their ships before they undock. So here you go. Pittsburgh, former goon, he's seen this. He's seen the video. He had to watch it. Your rigs are in cargo, man. I don't even get it. But hey, you know what? If you don't want to fit your rigs, that's fine. We'll just kill you easier. So, in it, boys. Thank you. Thank you for that. That made me giggle when I saw that. Rigs
I had not seen
in
that.
cargo.
Wow, what a dumbass. Okay.
So there you go. All right, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining us. This has been the Halloween Meta Show. We've had a ton of stuff to talk about. Thanks to Qicia for joining us. Thank you all for being here. We hope you enjoy your Halloween. We hope you have a safe evening. Just one programming note. For those of you who live in the United States, tonight is daylight savings time. That means for you next week, the Meta Show is still on the same normal time it is in the U.S. 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Wisconsin Cheesehead Mittens time, 1 p.m. on the West Coast. But for those of you who are around the world watching outside the United States, it'll now be 2100 Eve time, not 2000 Eve. So just keep that in mind. It'll be an hour later for you, but it's the same time for all of us because freedom.
The Imperium runs on Wisconsin time because
exactly right. So thank you all for joining us today. As always, I am Brisc Rubal alongside the Mittani. This has been the Meta Show for October the 31st, 2020. Pine Cone still in the Est.
Yeah.
You stay classy, New Eden.
Happy Halloween.